All right, let's get right into it. A major music streaming service just dropped a new policy about AI-generated music, and wow, it has ignited a massive debate about the future of creativity. So today, we're going to break down what's really happening with this AI music lockout.
So here it is. This is the sentence from the streaming service Deezer that's got everybody talking. Now that first part, will label AI-generated music. That sounds reasonable, right? Transparency? Sure. But it's that second part that's the real bombshell. Our recommendation algorithms won't support it. That changes everything.
And that really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? Is this genuinely about keeping users informed, or is this something else entirely? A way for a big platform to put its thumb on the scale and decide what art gets to be heard?
So let's break this down. A new policy appears, and it presents itself as a simple, straightforward label. But, there's always a hidden catch.
This is really where the rubber meets the road. On one hand, what they say is that labeling is just disclosure. Fair enough, but what it means in practice is algorithmic exile. And let's be clear, that's not a neutral act. That's a punishment dressed up as a policy.
Now, to really grasp why this is such a huge deal, we need to talk about the invisible force that's running the show on basically every streaming platform. Let's call it the invisible stage manager, the algorithm.
And this is the absolute key. For any artist trying to make it today, algorithms are not an optional feature. They're not a bonus. They are the entire ecosystem. Getting discovered, finding your fans, building a career, it all flows through the algorithm.
The source material uses these incredible metaphors, and they just nail it. The algorithm isn't just one thing, it's everything. It's the stage lights that make you visible. It's the crowd noise that makes you feel like you matter. It's the map that guides listeners to your door. Heck, it's even the weather.
So when a platform says it's removing algorithmic support, it's not just passively taking a step back. No way. It's an active intervention. It's like the sound guy walking on stage and deliberately stepping on the power cable right before your set. It's sabotage.
If any of this sounds familiar, it's because it is. This fight is not new. We're looking at music's old playbook here because this battle between new technology and the established order has happened over and over and over again.
I mean, just look at the history. Synthesizers in the 80s? Not real instruments. Then sampling came along? That's just theft. Auto-tune in the 90s? That's cheating. And even the very software that basically all modern music is made on today, DAWs, they were seen as a threat. Every single innovation gets a backlash.
And here's why that history lesson matters so much. Just imagine if radio stations or MTV in the 80s had decided to suppress anything made with a synthesizer. Whole genres of music, whole cultural movements could have been snuffed out before they even got started. That is the kind of risk we're looking at here.
Which brings us to the future, and this incredibly blurry line that's being drawn. This is about the dangerous precedent it sets when a platform decides it gets to define what real art is.
So let's just put a name on it: algorithmic suppression. It's a new kind of market manipulation that essentially creates two classes of artists: the approved ones who get heard and the unapproved ones who get silenced, all based on some arbitrary, corporate definition of what's real.
This is the question that nobody seems to have a good answer for. Artists use tools, all kinds of them. So at what point does a tool that helps you create become a reason to be disqualified? If an AI helps you brainstorm a lyric or master a track, does that make your song suddenly invisible? And you can just see the slippery slope, right? It starts with fully AI-generated music. Okay, but then what's next? AI-assisted lyrics. Then how about AI-enhanced mastering? Before you know it, you're penalizing artists for using AI to create their album cover. The line gets blurrier and blurrier.
This is such a great way to put it. Trying to draw some permanent, hard line in the sand right now doesn't protect music. It freezes it in amber. It stops the natural evolution that art has always relied on.
Okay, so if suppression is the wrong move, what's the right one? Well, there's actually a much smarter, fairer alternative on the table. One that's about choice, not censorship. It's about empowering the listeners.
So, is it possible to be transparent about AI without just bringing down the hammer? Can we protect everyone without a total blackout? The answer seems to be a pretty clear yes. Here's what that better way looks like. Step 1, yes, label AI content. Be clear, be transparent. But then, and this is the game changer, let the listeners decide. Give users toggles in their settings. If you only want human-made music, great, there's a setting for that. If you're curious and want to explore AI music, cool, there's a setting for that too. That is real choice.
When you really zoom out, this whole debate isn't just about one policy. It's about a timeless conflict that we see again and again. It's art versus the institution. It's innovation versus control.
And let's just call it what it is. A policy that kicks a new form of creativity out of the algorithm isn't neutral. It's just plain old gatekeeping, dressed up in some fancy 21st century language.
And this is just a fundamental truth of history, right? Whether it's painting, writing, or music, the artists and the art have always moved faster than the institutions that try to put them in a box.
And that's why trying to slam the brakes on this stuff almost never works in the long run. It doesn't stop innovation. All it does is push the most interesting creators to find other platforms, other places where they can build the future.
So, as we all watch this unfold, it's worth remembering, when you make a bet against creative evolution, history is very, very clear about who usually wins that race in the end.